In pro golf, one swing can be the difference between a major championship and a total career-defining disaster. It's a game of inches where a lifetime of work can fall apart in a single gut-wrenching moment. The pressure is insane, the stakes are legendary, and the line between glory and infamy is razor thin. We're counting down the biggest, most unbelievable meltdowns in golf history. The collapses so shocking, they became part of the game's legend. We kick off our countdown with a guy who practically had his arms in a green jacket, only to watch it disappear in the final agonizing moments. Number 10, Kenny Perry and the 2009 Masters. Our list starts at the 2009 Masters. At 48 years old, Kenny Perry wasn't just playing for his first major. He was trying to become the oldest Masters champion in history. For 70 holes, the Kentucky veteran had played with incredible poise. He was the feel-good story of the week, the seasoned pro finally getting his shot. Standing on the 17th tee, he had a 2-shot lead. The green jacket was his to lose. 2 pars and a dream comes true. But hey, this is Augusta, and the pressure on the final holes is no joke. On number 17, Perry, admittedly juiced up on adrenaline, hit his approach shot a little too perfect and flew the green. His chip back was shaky, and he missed the par putt for a bogey. The lead was cut to 1. Still, he had a cushion. On 18, one of the toughest finishing holes in golf, a par would seal it. But the nerves were clearly there. His drive found a bunker, and he couldn't get up and down. Bogey again. And just like that, the 2-shot lead had vanished in 2 holes. He was now in a sudden death playoff. After Chad Campbell was eliminated on the first hole, it was down to Perry and Angel Cabrera. On the second playoff hole, the 10th, Perry seemed to have regrouped, splitting the fairway. Cabrera, on the other hand, hit a wild tee shot that slammed into a tree and somehow bounced back into the fairway. It was a lucky break that changed everything. From the middle of the fairway, Perry pulled his approach shot left of the green, hit a poor chip, and missed the par putt. Cabrera, given a second life, calmly 2-putted for the win. Perry had come so close to a dream come true, but in his own words afterward, great players make it happen, and your average players don't. Number 9, Dustin Johnson and the 2015 US Open. Coming in at number 9 is a meltdown that didn't take hours to unfold. It happened in the span of 2 putts. The 2015 US Open was at Chambers Bay, a wild course that tested everyone. On the final green stood Dustin Johnson, one of the most talented players on the planet, who already had his share of major championship heartbreak. He had a 12-putt eagle putt. Make it, he wins the US Open. 2-putt, and he's in a playoff with Jordan Spieth. Now, to really get this, you need the backstory. 5 years earlier, DJ lost the PGA Championship after getting a 2-stroke penalty on the final hole for grounding his club in a bunker he didn't know was a bunker. This was his shot at redemption. The entire US Open came down to this one moment. He stood over the eagle putt. The crowd went silent. He hit it, and it looked perfect until it slid by, rolling about 4 feet past the cup. Okay, disappointment, but not disaster. He still had a short one for birdie to force a playoff. A putt a pro makes 999 times out of 1,000, but this was that one time. He addressed the ball again. The tension was just suffocating. He took the putter back and pushed it. The ball lipped out, a collective gasp, then stunned silence. In the blink of an eye, DJ went from a putt to win to a putt to tie to a 3-putt that handed the trophy to a shocked Jordan Spieth. It was a swift and brutal end on the very last green. Number 8 on our list is a collapse as slow and deliberate as the man himself, Jason Dufner. Famous for his stoic look and unique waggle, seemed completely unfazed as he stood on the 15th tee at the 2011 PGA Championship. And why wouldn't he be? He had a 5-shot lead with only 4 holes to play. The Wanamaker Trophy was practically in his hands. What happened next was a slow-motion train wreck that nobody saw coming. His main challenger, Keegan Bradley, had just made a triple bogey on 15, seemingly gifting the title to Dufner. But then, Dufner did the exact same thing, finding the water with his tee shot on the same hole. Bogey. Lead down to 4. On 16, he found a bunker and made another bogey. Suddenly, the lead was shrinking fast. While Dufner was leaking oil, Bradley caught fire, making back-to-back birdies on 16 and 17. The pressure was all on Dufner now. On the 17th green, he three-putted for a third straight bogey. In just 3 holes, the 5-shot lead was completely gone. They were tied. Dufner managed to par 18 to get into a playoff, but you could see the damage was done. All the momentum was with Bradley. Dufner, who had been in total command, looked completely deflated. Bradley birdied the first playoff hole, and that was that. Dufner was left wondering how a 5-shot lead with 4 to play had simply vanished. But here's the inspirational part. In a true show of character, Dufner found redemption by coming back and winning the same PGA Championship just 2 years later. Lucky number 7, Scott Hoch in the 1989 Masters. The phrase Hoch rhymes with choke is one of the cruelest things ever written in sports, but it perfectly captures the story of the 1989 Masters. Scott Hoch had the biggest prize in golf sitting at his feet. In a sudden death playoff against the legendary Nick Faldo, he faced a 2-foot putt to win the green jacket. Faldo, who shot a blistering 65 just to get into the playoff, had bogeyed the first playoff hole, opening the door wide open for Hoch. All Hoch had to do was make his par. His first putt left him with a tiny tap-in. You or I could make this putt with our eyes closed. Commentator Ken Venturi said he was 24 inches from a green coat. What happened next became infamous. Hoch stood over the putt for what felt like an eternity, backing off, rereading a putt that had no break. You could feel the doubt creeping in. When he finally hit it, he didn't just miss, he jabbed it 5 feet past the hole. A groan of disbelief echoed across Augusta. Hoch tossed his putter in the air, completely stunned. He managed to make the comeback putt to stay alive, but mentally, it was over. He'd had his shot and missed. On the very next hole, Faldo drained a 25-foot birdie to snatch the green jacket away. Hoch never won a major, forever haunted by the 2-foot putt that got away. Number 6, Phil Mickelson and Colin Montgomery. 2006 U.S. Open. Number 6 isn't just one meltdown, it's a spectacular double disaster on the final hole of the 2006 U.S. Open at the brutal Wingfoot. This tournament is remembered less for who won, Australian Jeff Ogilvy, and more for how 2 huge stars, Phil Mickelson and Colin Montgomery, completely threw it away. First, Monty, the fan-favorite Scot, was still hunting for his first major title. Standing in the 18th fairway, he was in perfect position. A par would all but guarantee him a win. But after a long wait, he second-guessed his club choice and hit one of the worst shots of his career, coming up short and right of the green. He went on to chip past the hole and make a devastating double bogey. Another major dream crushed at the last second. But wait, there's more. On the tee right behind him was Phil Mickelson. Lefty had a 1-shot lead. All he needed was a par to win his first U.S. Open. But Phil, being Phil, pulled out his driver. It was a decision that would live in infamy. He sliced it so badly, it hit a hospitality tent. Still, he could have played it safe. Instead, he went for a hero shot, tried to slice it around a tree and hit the tree. His third shot found a deep bunker. His fourth shot from the sand ran away from the hole. He missed the bogey putt that would have forced a playoff. Double bogey. Utter catastrophe. A shell-shocked Mickelson said it all afterward. "I am such an idiot." Both men had the U.S. Open in their grasp, and both handed it to a stunned Ogilvy, who was just waiting in the clubhouse. At number 5, we have the public unraveling of a young superstar that was generally hard to watch. A 21-year-old Rory McIlroy went into the final round of the 2011 Masters with a 4-shot lead. For 3.5 days, he had dominated Augusta. A green jacket seemed like a lock, the coronation of golf's next big thing. But the back nine on Sunday at the Masters is a different animal, and it completely devoured him. He was still leading by 1 shot when he got to the 10th hole. Then, it all fell apart. Rory hit a tee shot so far left it ended up between two of Augusta's cabins, a place you almost never see on TV, the kind of place where you know something has gone horribly wrong. He ended up with a triple bogey. The lead was gone. That shot shattered his confidence. He bogeyed 11, then on that famous par 3 12th, he found the water and four-putted for a double bogey. The dream had become a full-blown nightmare. In just 3 holes, he had dropped 6 shots, free-falling down the leaderboard. The confident swagger was gone, replaced by the slumped shoulders of a kid watching his dream die right before his eyes. He shot a final round 80, the worst score in the field that day, and dropped from first place to 15th. It was a brutal public lesson, but this story has an incredible ending. Rory admitted that this disaster taught him how to win. Just 2 months later, he went out and won the US Open by 8 shots in one of the most dominant performances ever. Coming in at number 4 is a collapse that felt personal to millions. Jordan Spieth, the defending champion, looked like he was going to run away with the 2016 Masters. After 4 straight birdies to end the front 9, he had a massive 5-shot lead. A second green jacket seemed inevitable. Then he got to Amen Corner. It started with bogeys on 10 and 11. The lead was shrinking, but he was still up by 2 as he walked to the tee at the famous par 3 12th, Golden Bell. It's only 155 yards, but it has ruined countless dreams. Spieth was about to add his name to the list. His tee shot was weak, flared out to the right, and never had a chance. Splash into Rays Creek. The pressure now was suffocating. He took a drop and from about 80 yards out had to hit it over the same creek. In a moment of pure shock, he chunked a wedge shot, a fat, heavy shot that drove right back into the water. The crowd gasped. The defending champ was completely falling apart. He walked off the 12th green with a quadruple bogey 7. The 5-shot lead had turned into a 3-shot deficit in about 15 minutes. The damage was done. England's Danny Willett, who was playing steady golf up ahead, suddenly found himself the leader and eventually the champion. The sight of a heartbroken Spieth having to present the green jacket to Willett just a year after his own win was one of the toughest, most awkward moments in sports history. Number 3, Arnold Palmer in the 1966 US Open. Our countdown now turns to one of the game's greatest icons, Arnold Palmer. The king wasn't just a golfer, he was a legend. At the 1966 US Open, he was about to cruise to another major title. With just 9 holes left to play, Palmer had a massive 7-shot lead over Billy Casper. 7 shots. Arnie was so confident that he was focused on breaking the US Open scoring record, and the gallery, his Arnie's Army, was already celebrating. But in golf, pride comes before a fall. He started playing aggressively instead of conservatively. A bogey on 10 cut the lead to 6. Another on 13 made it 5. Still, a 5-shot lead with 4 to play should have been safe for the king. But Casper was playing brilliantly, and Arnie started to press. The collapse sped up. On 15, Palmer bogeyed while Casper birdied. Lead down to 3. On 16, Palmer made a double bogey, while Casper birdied again. Incredibly, the lead was now just 1. The crowd was silent. Arnie's victory march had become a train wreck. On 17, another Palmer bogey, and just like that, the entire 7-stroke lead was gone. They were tied. He managed to force a playoff for the next day, but the psychological damage was done. In the playoff, Palmer again built a 2-shot lead, only to collapse again and lose to Casper. For a man known for his heroic charges, this was the complete opposite. Losing a 7-shot lead with 9 to play is still one of the biggest chokes in golf history. At number 2, the meltdown that for many is the definition of a sports tragedy. Greg Norman, the Shark, was a dominant, charismatic force in golf, but he was also famous for his spectacular bad luck in major championships. The 1996 Masters was supposed to be his moment. He entered the final round with a huge 6-shot lead over Nick Faldo. Surely, this time, nothing would go wrong. What happened that Sunday is probably the most painful collapse ever witnessed in golf. Norman looked like a completely different person. The swagger was gone, replaced by raw nerves. The lead started slipping away. Bogey on 9, bogey on 10, bogey on 11. The 6-shot lead was suddenly down to 2. And then came the 12th hole, the scene of so many meltdowns. Norman's tee shot landed short and rolled back into Rays Creek. Double bogey. In an instant, he wasn't just tied, he was 2 shots behind Nick Faldo. The momentum had completely flipped. Faldo, a cold-blooded competitor, was playing flawlessly, while Norman was in total freefall. The final nail in the coffin came at the par 3 16th. After Faldo hit a brilliant shot, Norman, needing a miracle, pulled his iron into the water again. It was over. He shot a disastrous 78, turning a 6-shot lead into a 5-shot loss. The walk up to the 18th was excruciating. As they finished, Faldo hugged a devastated Norman and whispered, "I don't know what to say," and no one else did either. The world had just watched a man's worst nightmare play out on the grandest stage. Before we hit number 1, how about liking this video and subscribe if you want to see more about golf and the players that make it all worth watching. These moments are a brutal reminder of just how mentally tough this game is. We've seen legends crumble and dreams vanish in an instant. What do you think is the most painful meltdown on this list? Is there one we missed that still haunts you? Let us know in the comments. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more deep dives into golf history. Now, let's get to our number 1 spot. A meltdown so bizarre, you have to see it to believe it. And you're right, number 1 has to be Jean Van de Velde and the 1999 Open Championship. The undisputed number 1 biggest meltdown in golf history. This one goes beyond sports. It's a story of such catastrophic decision-making, it's become a warning for the ages. The scene: the 1990 Open Championship at Carnoustie, one of the hardest courses on earth. Our player is Jean Van de Velde, a journeyman from France who, after the week of his life, stood on the final tee with a 3-shot lead. To win the famous Claret Jug, all he needed was a double bogey 6. That's it. For a pro, even on a tough hole, this should be simple. Play it safe, avoid disaster, grab the trophy. Van de Velde had other ideas. In a choice that still makes no sense, he hit driver. The shot sprayed right, barely avoiding a water hazard, but landing in a terrible spot. Still, no big deal, just chip it out to the fairway, wedge it on the green, and 2-putt for the win. But then came decision number 2. Instead of playing it safe, he went for the green from the thick rough. The shot was a wild slice that hit the grandstand railing, ricocheted backward, and landed in even thicker rough. From there, his 3rd shot went straight into the Berry Burn, the creek in front of the green. What followed was pure chaos. Van de Velde actually waded into the water, thinking about hitting the shot as the world watched in disbelief. He eventually took a penalty drop, hit his 5th shot into a bunker, and blasted out to 6 feet. He now needed to make that 6-foot putt just to get into a playoff. Miraculously, he drained it, but the damage was done. A 3-shot lead had vanished on one hole of pure insanity. He lost the playoff. It wasn't just a collapse, it was a public spectacle of how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. For its combination of terrible choices, bad luck, and the sheer size of what was lost, Jean Van de Velde's meltdown is, and may forever be, the biggest in golf history. From 2-foot putts to 7-shot leads, we've walked through the most agonizing moments in golf. These stories are more than just bad shots, they're human dramas about what happens under unimaginable pressure. They remind us that for every amazing win, there's a flip side of heartbreak. The mental toughness required to win is just incredible, and these players are defined not just by their wins, but by these moments of failure that make their struggles and their eventual triumphs so unforgettable. Golf is a game of magnificent highs and soul-crushing lows, and it's right there in the middle where the greatest stories are written. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, keep it in the short stuff.